genius and Albert Einstein are so synonymous, that what that tells me is that Albert Einstein is a genius at branding, right? I mean, that's the kind of thing that branding people would just like wake up and jump out of bed to get that kind of synergy going. But it also made me think, like, wow, we really have sequestered this bold idea of genius to like kind of very small possibilities for the rest of us. So today we want to go beyond Einstein and move into a broader definition of what genius is, right? So, because Jesus was a genius, all of us have genius within us, and it's not just for the special. Jesus actually said, "This and greater things shall you do." The guy could walk on water. I mean, can you imagine doing greater things than that? Raising the dead? I mean, lifting hardships from people's shoulders, redefining people who said that they were broken and said, "No, you're not." He's just one guy who was genius, but I think he's a good example. Here in SpeakEasy, we honor all paths to God and all way showers. So basically what that tells me in that wisdom, that you're a genius. That you're a genius, that you're a genius, that you're a genius, that you're a genius, you're a genius, you're a genius. This is not something we usually equate with ourselves, right? But A Course in Miracles, which is my spiritual backbone, says that all gifts of God are given and given equally and distributed equally. And it's your belief that this is not so that causes judgment. And it's also those who believe that will fall prey to righteousness. Those who believe that they have more will fall prey to righteousness. And those who believe that they have less genius will fall prey to a victim of envy. And that both of those falling away from grace will leave us feeling depleted. So we all have a responsibility to awaken our genius. And although this sounds like big work, it's actually very natural for us to do this. So, in the idea of A Course in Miracles, where we're all given the same amount of goodness within us and the possibility for goodness within us, that the idea is that God doesn't play favorites. God does not play favorites. And if there's brilliance that lives within you, then it's also available for all of us, because we're one. So why have we made genius so unattainable and so exclusive? It's very rare that someone will say, "Oh my God, you're such a genius." Because most of the time they're saying, "Yeah, good move, genius. Nice move, Einstein." Right? So when you do get that affirmation of you're a genius, it's usually because you've come up with a solution outside the box. And people go, "Whoa, I didn't even see that. That's such a genius move." When somebody smashes through conformity and ruthlessly irons out wrinkles and riddles that seem to baffle the rest of us. A genius is someone who seems to play by different rules, right? And has a different set of tools to decode normal situations, right? They seem exceptional. They seem extraordinary. They have the ability to see things differently. That's what A Course in Miracles gets us to. I'm willing to see things differently. And because of the unique way a genius sees things, it's able to offer new possibilities to old problems. That's what we need. We need more geniuses, We need to activate the genius within us. Genius sees things from a creative and a curious and a wondrous place, a wondrous vantage point, right? Not from the complacent conformity of mediocrity that the mindset of the world, supports us in having. So that's what makes a genius, how someone's willing to see things differently. A Course in Miracles is totally invested. All the first lessons, if you ever work the workbook, are talking about how I'm willing to see things differently. And basically what it's talking about is getting unforgiveness out of the way so I can bloom into my most audacious self. So I would basically feel completely fine with saying A Course in Miracles is a beautiful program that helps to establish fertile ground for genius. Who's with me on that? Yeah, all right, okay. So the world is driven by conformity, and life is driven by creativity. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, that you were born to create, not conform. And to the degree that you commit to creating is the degree that you will tap into your genius. So there's this guy, Paul Allen, maybe some of you guys know him, he was the co-founder of Microsoft. And he's considered a genius. And he dropped out of school. He dropped out of college, not because he was dumb, which is usually the reason most people drop out of college, but because he was done. He was done being in college. Like, he knew that staying in college wasn't going to get him any further. He knew that he didn't have to wait around for the educational systems to give him a permission slip to tell him that he knew what he knew that he knew, that he already knew what was his to do. And so he said, okay, I'm going to drop from this conformity and I'm actually going to move into where I'm supposed to be. And it seemed to work out okay for him, yeah? So he was ready to pursue, He didn't need to gather permission slips. The world will offer you permission slips. And geez, our ego likes to chase permission slips. Can I go? Am I good enough? Can I get it yet? Do I need more letters at the end of my name? Do I need to have an official ministry thing? No, just get it online. You'll be fine. But we don't really, even that, for some reason, I actually did need to, because I marry people, so I do need to have like a little license, but most of the time, all of that is just illusions that's holding you up and giving you great excuses to not move forward, some of these things are good and they help us to sharpen our toolbox, but most of the time, we give it to ourselves as an opportunity to stay stuck. So, I'm inviting you to follow life as opposed to the world's plan for you. Steve Jobs says, if you're working on something exciting and you really care about it, you don't have to push. The vision will pull you. And that's the idea, to not get hung up on, wondering where to go, what to do, and what to say. Just let your love pull you into the next right step. You know what that is. You already know what that is. And if you don't know what it is, there's an internal compass within you that if you get still and know God, whatever God is for you, and ask, what is my next right step? It will be clear for you. So Steve Jobs, I think this is going to be the sermon of Steve Jobs because I end up quoting him a lot, but he also says one of my favorite quotes, which is, it's better to be a pirate than to join the Navy. And that's kind of the difference. I'm not putting down the Navy because I have a lot of friends in the Navy, but that's kind of the different mentality of conformity and creativity. So when I was a kid, I wanted to be an actress, and I got accepted into the American Academy of Dramatic Arts for a summer program, and I was like, holy hat, like this is awesome. And I was in the big city, the Big Apple, and so green, like I had no clue about anything. And I got into this program, and they said, this is a summer program, it's very exclusive, but if you're good, we'll invite you back for the 2-year program. And I was like, I gotta get the 2-year program. Like this will really give me a permission slip to say I'm good enough. So anyway, I go through the summer program, work my butt off, and I get invited back for the 2-year program. So I go to talk to them about joining the 2-year program, and they say, okay, great, and there's a condition on it. You can't audition or work professionally for the next 2 years. So I was like, whoa, wow. I don't know if that's still the plan, but that was the plan when I went there, and I was like, huh. And I was kind of stuck in between a rock and a hard place, because my ego wanted to join the crew and go forward, but my spirit and my life was saying, Maureen, you did not come to New York City to be an acting student. You came here to act, and you cannot, follow the conditions of conformity and block yourself from doing what you know is yours to do. So I had to walk away from that. And it wasn't easy, and it was scary, because now we're taking the road less traveled. Everyone I knew was going on to the next 2 years, my tribe, And I was like, I got to get off at this stop, And okay, so Holy Spirit, now I'm not doing that, and what am I supposed to do? Go get an agent. Oh, okay, I got an agent. I booked my 3rd job. I booked my 3rd job, and I was flying first class to Bristol, Tennessee to shoot a whole series of Pepsi-Cola commercials that kept me in New York for the next couple of years because all those residuals, right? And I know I wouldn't have booked that job if I hadn't put some, vital commitment behind it, And nothing was sacrificed, but I really had to be true to the truth of who I was here to be and not chase permission slips. So, that was kind of a fun thing. And also, I didn't know what I was doing when I booked that job. Like, my agent would call. It literally was a 3rd audition. She's like, you're on hold. I'm like, what does that mean? And she's like, it means that, you're on the list and they're interested. And then she's like, you're on first refusal. I'm like, what does that mean? I had no clue what I was doing, but that didn't matter. Because the Holy Spirit will bring you to where you need to be if you're willing to love fearlessly. So, people want to say, and I wanted to say for a long time, oh, you know what? Beginner's luck. Look at me with beginner's luck, right? But that's bullshit, because if I say that's beginner's luck, you know what I'm doing right there? I'm negating love. I'm saying, oh, I can't make that happen again because it was just luck. It happened to me. But really, luck gets a lot of credit for what love does. Right? And if I say it was just luck, then I have no hope. I just have to wait around for the next luck truck to come by and hope it stops at my stop. But if I know that it's love, then it requires that I take responsibility and continue to love, and to love fearlessly, you know? That's not what we want to do. We want to hand the responsibility over to the other guy and say, I'll just wait for luck to show up. I hope it does. Beginner's luck only happens in the beginning, so don't go that way. If you want to keep the train moving, you got to really take responsibility for loving unconditionally, and for loving impeccably, and for loving generously. So, A Course in Miracles, with love, life and love are synonymous in the same way that Einstein and genius are synonymous. You know, so if we want to be in love with our life, we have to really recognize where the vitality is. And we can, as Mary was saying, like when you sit with your body, you can really tell, is this for me or is this not for me? Because luck, a commitment to love will make an ordinary person look very, very lucky. But it's always love. So creative genius, it seems that you would need to commit to love, and commit to not just loving out there, but loving yourself. We are not so great at loving ourselves and including ourselves in the equation, you know? So this really requires to awaken to our own creative genius. We have to love ourselves. Genius requires that we do take the road less traveled, that we shut the world off with its following the dots agenda. You know, where does that get you but a silly picture that anybody could make? You're not created to make that carbon copy of artwork. You're created to color outside the lines. And this happens on the road less traveled. This happens on the path less taken. These less traveled paths are the ones that take us beyond the things that we know, and beyond the things that we know, that's genius. That's where genius lives. If we keep regurgitating the same thing from what we know, we're just going to keep pushing out the same stories. And we're not about that. So, you know, as kids can do this. Kids have a green card a little bit to do this because we tell them what to do and we give them like no menu whatsoever. Like, you got to do it my way. I'm the boss. But now that we're adults and mature, we have to realize that we're large and in charge. When I was a kid, I used to spend hours and hours and hours, maybe you did too, daydreaming in my fantasy. I mean, like, I would just fantasize and daydream all day long. And it was good because in my mind, I could mold those stories to my liking. You know, like I was always the, leading lady, the queen, the hero. Like I was like all about it in my head. My mom's like, you're in your own little world. I'm like, it ain't so little, Mom, it's huge, you know? And, because when I was there, I was large and in charge. But when I was out in the world, like what I believed and what I was taught was that you get what you get and you don't get upset. You know, that you have one choice, you do it my way. I mean, most of us were born into families where our moms didn't come to the table with a menu and say, hey, what can I get you? You know, it was like, eat this. My mom was the worst cook, you know? So it was like, I talked about this at Voice Box. Like everything was charred, burnt on the outside and mushy on the inside. And, you know, the only choice we had was like to eat it burnt or cover it with syrup, you know? So that was about as vast as it got. But today in our adult life, so basically that kind of upbringing can support us in not taking responsibility for choosing if we weren't given choice. Like we start to say, I guess I should just go with conformity and it's good enough because I've been told it's good enough. Just make do, it's good enough. Like that's the worst thing that you can do. Any place in your life where you're looking at something and saying, that's good enough, get rid of it. Like be bold enough to just say, you know what, somebody else is going to love this person, place, or thing. I'm not about that. I'm about being in complete love with everything under my nose. And if I can't love you completely, you need to go or I need to go. That's okay. You know, but this is what makes space for genius. If we continue to entertain mediocrity, genius is never going to knock on the door because the house is full. That's good, Maureen. Thanks. I like that. So we literally lose our ability to imagine. I mean, imagine the hours we put in as kids in imagination, and now today, how long do we spend in imagination? Like, come on, let's get back to it. It's really good stuff. I once gave a woman who I was coaching the homework to go and daydream, and she came back the next week. She's like, I didn't have any time. I was like, what do you mean you didn't have time? You do it at work. Don't tell your boss that, but I was like, come on. Genius does not live in conformity, it lives in creativity, and creativity comes from the expanded awareness of fearlessness, of expanding our imagination and our ability to choose. If we can conceive of it, we can believe in it. To create, must first question everything. There's a limitless menu in God. There's a limitless palette of colors that God has for you that haven't even been invented yet. But if we shut the door or give up our ability to question, our right to choose, we'll always ever experience the reinventing of the same old stories. It's so boring. And you know what happens when you continue to digest the same old stuff that you get bored and your brain starts making up stuff. And then you get into drama. We don't want drama. We want creativity. So this new vision comes from staying open and staying curious and staying willing and staying humble. And when I say humble, I want you to really go into situations and say, I don't know. It's so refreshing. I should start every talk saying, I'm Maureen Muldoon, I don't know a damn thing. It's pretty close to the truth. But Socrates said that. I don't know anything, I just ask questions. And he turned out pretty well. Actually, I think he was killed for his beliefs, wasn't he? Yeah. Oh well. Anyhow, I think we've evolved past that. So the steps to it are imagine that things are possible, imagine that it's possible that you are a creative genius, just in the imagination of that. Imagine, take a moment, take a little time this week to think, if I were a creative genius, what would that feel like? What would I create? What would I be doing if I were a creative genius? Question and entertain the mystery of what that could look like. Stay open to it, because it's a huge playing field. And speaking of playing, play. Don't take it seriously. If we start to take things seriously, we literally choke the life out of them, right? So everything has to be play. My accountant asked me a while ago, when do we want to retire? And I was like, retire from what? I was like, I can't retire from a job I don't have. All I do is play. Who wants to retire from that? I'm going to play it to my last breath. So I'm invested in fun, if you haven't noticed. I was raised in a pack of kids. It was all about fun. So, that's not segregated to the children. We have to remember to have fun. If you come to VoiceBox, if you come to SpeakEasy, we like to laugh, we like to play, we like to hang out, we like to listen to music, we like to eat good food together. We like to, do the work, but do the work in play. So, there is another quote from Steve Jobs. Your work is going to fill a large part of your life. And the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. It sounds so simple, but so many of us have not given ourselves the permission to just love what we do. If we love what we do, everything else will follow. So I want to profess my love to you. I love you guys so much. I love this community so much. I love coming here. I love how you show up for each other. I love how you bring your gifts here. I love what we do at SpeakEasy. I love you. I love every note that comes out of your body. I love Dawn Sprawn. I'm wearing her jewelry today. I love this jewelry. It lights me up. Jane Matthew made this piece. We have so many creative people in our community. Blessings are flowing everywhere. And if you continue to say, I love, 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 you're going to energize and generate this experience of genius. You're going to finally just flip the switch to your own genius, and it's just going to come on, it's going to come strong, and it's going to blow away all of those little fears. You want your love to be so much bigger than your butt. But we all have big butts that get in the way. We go, oh yeah, I want to do that, but this, but that, but this, but that. We want our love to be so much bigger that it's that doesn't make any difference. There's nothing. It's a no thing. So I forgot to tell you, if you're new here, I don't talk through the whole thing, don't worry. If you're new here, we're going to end the conversation, the talk, and then we all talk amongst yourselves, not amongst yourselves, but if anything comes up and have any questions, any concerns, you get to talk. This is where we weave together. This is where we create together. Like, that's the beautiful thing, that we actually get to create together. So it's how you awaken to your genius, to love what you do and do what you love. So I already professed my love. Okay, so love, mountains will move themselves when you're in love. Last night I got home and I still had to get clear on what I was actually talking about today. And I had been having a conversation with Carol and Dave, and we were talking about this big church, and I felt myself begin to get worried, like I saw this big mountain, and I was like, oh, like I don't know like how to do that, or if we're even supposed to do that. I don't know about that. But then I remembered that the seed that started this community, was just something that was the desire for that which is good and beautiful and holy. And if I hold on to that seed, that it will grow itself, and it will draw to itself the fertilizer of love that comes in each of us. And we come together and join and create this continuation of that which is good and beautiful and holy. So when you meet up with your little monsters under the bed, or when the little, fear knocks at the door, you can use these technologies to say, I'm going to go back to the seed. What's the core idea here? I don't have to get pie in the sky and, get nervous about getting it out there. Let me just stay true to the seed, and the rest will follow, because that's the nature of creativity. The grass always grows. The trees always grow. We don't actually see them growing. They grow so subtly. Like one day it's there, and then the next day it's here. Like, it's subtle. So sometimes you can't see your own growth. You think nothing's happening here. Nothing's happening. But actually, a lot is happening. It's just going at its natural pace. So I want you to affirm that you have access to this brilliance and to this genius, and say to your source every day, God bless me with my genius. God bless me with my genius. Fill and expand my acceptance of this genius and my tolerance for this genius, and keep me from fear, so that I don't go, sit on the sidelines when I could be playing the game, that I don't go chasing permission slips when I could be playing the game, because I have a unique gift to give out into the world, and I don't want to die without expressing that gift out into the world. I want you to die without expressing your unique gift out into the world, and I want you to, say to God, I want to give it generously. If people need my brand of genius, I want to be the one to show up for it. Only I can bring it. Only you can bring it. It's like we're in a big mosaic of God, and you have responsibility for your part of the beautiful picture of God. If you don't show up, it stays vacant. So that's how important you are. You're literally completing the picture for all of us, and we miss you when you're not here. Okay, then make space for greatness to come, and make space for genius to come, and wait on God. Be willing to let go of that good and wait for greatness to show up. And don't do all the heavy lifting, and don't do all the thinking. There's way too much doing going on. First you just have to imagine, and then let God, fulfill the imagination. There's more doing than ever needs to be done here. What we really need is space to just listen. So find your space this week to just listen to your own thoughts and your own intuition. Turn the world off. Take time to close down all the mad ramblings of the world. And when you get that inspiration that will surely come, take a breath. Share it with somebody you feel very confident with. And think about the next right step. Just all you have to do is just think about the next right step. And when you finally feel like your tank is full and you know where you're going and you're on fire with passion and you're ready to really move forward, don't be stingy with the mustard. Spend it all here. You can't take it with you, right? Don't hoard your good. Spend it and share it while you got it, because that sharing of it, the ego will tell you if you give it, you're not going to have any left. Like sometimes I think, what am I going to talk about? Like I'll have to think of something to talk. I'm going to run out of talk sometime. And I'm like, that's not true. God has so much to say through me. God has so much to paint through you. God has so much to sing through you. God has so much to bake through you. It's a never-ending resource of goodness. So don't hoard your good. In fact, when you give it out, that informs the universe. It's like, she wants more. When you pick berries off a blueberry bush, it doesn't stop making as many. It makes more the next season. Did you guys know that? That's kind of inspired, and that's the same with us. It's like saying the more you give out and you see that the world needs your good, I'm going to give you more to deliver. So The last way to awaken creative genius is to recognize how it is everywhere around us. So this week, go on a scavenger hunt of creative genius. Start to witness it in your life, because what you focus on increases, and if you spot it, you got it. That's how it works. Be willing to love generously and fearlessly and playfully. And if you do those things, you will find your genius. The end. So what do you think? I would love to hear from you. Leave a comment below, or you can go ahead and sign up for our newsletter at SpeakEasy so we can keep the conversation going. Because SpeakEasy is all about engaging in engaging conversations. Everything is better when we all share our voice. I'm Maureen Muldoon, your Spiritual Vixen, reminding you to love more and fear less, and don't forget to laugh. What do you say?